From Maryland.
I reserve.
Reserves. The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We hear a lot about no taxation without representation, but there is representation. DC has 3 electoral votes. We forget that. This is the 23rd Amendment. They have a delegate in Congress. They also have local government, a mayor. They have a Home Rule Act. But taxation does bring up a serious issue, because DC would need to raise taxes if it were to become a state. It's simply not self-sufficient economically. In fact, DC takes more from the federal government than any other area in the United States. $73,000 per capita, to be exact. That's astronomical when you think about it. The second highest state is Virginia at $16,000 per capita, followed by Maryland at $15,000 per capita. Again, DC takes $73,000 per capita. If this were to go through, DC would need to raise revenue. Because of the massive amount of federal land in the district, you would then have to have more taxation, presumably through 2 ways. One, a commuter tax, taxing people that come into the district from other areas, or you would have to have tolling of roads leading into the district. Both of these are incredibly problematic. The first one, a commuter tax, would actually create the problem my liberal colleagues are saying exists in the first place: no taxation without representation. Because you would have the District of Columbia taxing people from presumably Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, where have you, for commuting in to the district. They wouldn't have representation here. That's actually taxation without representation. Further, if you were to toll roads leading into the district, you would infringe upon people's constitutional rights to petition the government. Imagine how much a tour bus would have to pay if they wanted to come here into the district. But I was talking about the Home Rule Act. I was talking about the 23rd Amendment. And it reminded me, there was an allegation that Republicans somehow don't care about this issue. It's actually opposite. Republicans are the ones that have advanced more rights for the District of Columbia. Think about it. It was actually the Kennedy and the Carter administration, both their departments of justice concluded that for DC to be a state, it would require a constitutional amendment. They were on our side of this argument. And historically, it was President Eisenhower who pushed through the 23rd Amendment to get DC 3 electoral votes. And just a side note, it was Representative Prescott Bush, grandfather of George W. Bush, who was instrumental in passing the 23rd Amendment. They were both Republicans. And then it was President Nixon who signed the Home Rule Act into law. This has been Republican-led since the very beginning. There was also an argument about DC residents lacking, this is somehow a civil rights issue. Civil rights, that's an actual term of art. Civil rights is a violation when the rights are denied because a person is who the person is. DC residents don't have a lack of representation in Congress because of who they are, but instead of where they choose to live. And this isn't just me making this argument. The late Democrat Representative John Dingell made a similar argument, and I'll quote the late Representative Dingell. Quote, "I have supported every single civil rights measure that has passed this Congress since 1955. But we have to look at the facts before us. No citizen of Washington, D.C. is chained to the pillars of the U.S. Capitol. They can leave anytime they want. To say this is somehow a civil rights violation is insulting to actual civil rights violations." And then let's go back to the 3 electoral votes issue. If we do follow this course of action and not repeal the 23rd Amendment before enacting DC statehood, you're going to have, as my colleague from Maryland just admitted, a sloppy and messy situation where the new state gets 3 electoral votes and then the federal enclave gets 3 electoral votes. Well, who lives in the federal enclave? It would be the first family. So you would presumably give the incumbent 3 electoral votes in the election, and then DC itself 3 electoral votes. Madam Speaker, with that, I would like to yield